I want to live in a city because...
I grew up in the middle of nowhere, and in order to get anywhere, you need to get in your car and drive forever.
Convenience, going everywhere, getting whatever you want, like anytime.
It's the best place to live in. I wouldn't be able to live anywhere else. It's inspiring to see new things, new ideas every single day.
I feel like there's more life, and it's more vibrant, and it's more vital. And it makes my heart pump more.
You know, the biggest impact that human beings have had on the planet has really occurred in the last 200 years, beginning with the Industrial Revolution. And from that, we have been urbanizing at an exponential rate.
Currently, for the first time in our history, 52% of the world's population live in cities. There are 200,000 new urban dwellers every day. That trend is accelerating, particularly in Asia, Africa, Latin America. By 2050, 6 billion people will live in cities.
If you average over the next 30 to 40 years, every week, 1 million new people are moving into cities. So the stress and the strain on resources and materials is phenomenal.
In 2006, Nicholas Stern said that the costs of action will likely be lower than inaction. There's nowhere else we should start than with urbanization in cities. We know cities are consuming 70% of global energy use. We already have the majority of the population in cities. So if we don't start here at the heart of the problem, then we're lost.
The research that myself and my colleagues have been involved in is really, at its very heart, trying to develop a serious science of cities. Our work has shown that the bigger you are, namely the bigger the city, the more you have of essentially everything, whether it's wages or AIDS cases or crime or patents, all to the same degree, and that is operable across the globe. The important thing to recognize about cities is that on the one hand, this exponential urbanization is actually the origin of this feeling of the tsunami of problems, from financial markets, economies, to health, pollution, disease, crime, environment, global warming. All of these have their origin in cities. But on the other hand, the great thing about cities is that they are vacuum cleaners or magnets that suck up human creativity, ideas, culture. And so, whereas on the one hand, the problems are generated in cities, the solution is going to be generated in cities. And therefore, it is of great urgency that we understand cities in a profound and predictive fashion.
In a certain sense, what is happening with cities today is quite similar to what happened with Formula One over the past 20 years. 20 years ago, if you wanted to win a Formula One race, you get a budget, a good budget, and bet it on a good car and a good driver. And if the car and the driver were good enough, then you win the race. Now, today, if you want to win a Formula One race, actually you need to take your budget and a good chunk of it to use it for a telemetry system. A telemetry system is a system that collects a lot of real-time information from the car, processes all of those data in real time, and then helps to make decisions. Today, for the first time, our cities are becoming like a real-time control system. Technology is now becoming networked, atomized, distributed, and is radically changing the way we interface with the city. It means that the city, or the buildings, or the objects are starting to respond to us, to talk back to us.
The trend towards more ICT pervasiveness, being able to access the network anywhere in a city, and objects being able to access the network, it's a game changer for cities. It means that city dwellers access information related to energy, water, city services, each other, crime, what's on at the movies in a fluid way. So ICT has become kind of like water in a city. It flows and it's a network.
Inherent in information and communication technology is intelligence. And the intelligence that we can apply to any system, whether it's transportation, the way we consume goods and services, take any smaller issue like trash or driving a car. When you have a built-in intelligence in the system, you have information that you didn't have before. And that information and that knowledge is key to tackling some of the inefficiencies that are inherent in everyday life.
Today we know a lot of things about where our objects come from. What happens to objects when we throw them away, that's much less understood and studied. So what we decided to do in this project is to develop a little chip that we can attach to objects. And then when we throw away these objects, we can follow them through the removal chain. And we did this in Seattle with 3,000 objects thrown away in Seattle, and then following them across all the United States to see what goes in the good place, in the right place, in the wrong place, how far they travel, and so on. The interesting thing is that this type of data had never been collected before. And when you collect it and analyze it, you see that that system that moves things around has a lot of inefficiencies. You see that, we use transportation in a very chaotic way. Sometimes things go west and then they move again to the east and so on. So if we actually were able to optimize the system, we can save a lot of energy, for instance, for transportation.
Broadband and mobile broadband in particular, combined with different types of social media, is creating radically new ways of engagement. Before, you could communicate one-to-one or with another person or maybe cast your vote with the government, but today you get a much more global conversation on whether it's climate change or an issue within your local city government. Today you have the possibility not to just tell the government what you think, but to get others involved in your cause and to share your views. And I think this is revolutionizing the way that policymakers and global leaders are responding on different issues. On a very practical level, it's the cities that have to implement the targets. They have to find practical ways to live and work. Governments and countries are negotiating the global climate agreements and setting very lofty targets about CO2 emission reductions and many other important policy things. But the ones that have to implement this on a very practical level are the mayors.
Visionary mayors who get it, are incredibly enthusiastic about the future of cities because they realize that the power of cities has increased and is increasing. But mayors want more effective governance. They don't want long bureaucratic processes to weigh things down. And so the old barriers between, say, civil societies and the town hall, or academics in the town hall, or entrepreneurs in City Hall, or companies in City Hall, they realize that the modus operandi of partnerships for cities has to be changed, has to be made more efficient. Also, mayors are very enthusiastic about introducing, for example, ICT tools into city management.
So this is the 5th floor of Boston City Hall. One of our main areas of focus is participatory urbanism. So we have developed a number of projects with, especially with local area universities, that explore new models by which the public can engage with each other and with government in developing new approaches to solutions. Citizens Connect is an approach that we've, a mobile phone app strategy that we've taken to encourage the public to automatically detect and report elements of the built environment that they see. So it could be pothole, it could be graffiti, streetlights, whatever they are. You use your mobile phone, you record it, and that automatically sends it into the service request. Whereupon it's dealt with by work crews that will go out, fix the issue, and the system will then send you, as the reporter, a notice that it's been fixed. We've seen a proliferation of devices and of connectivity across all segments of society. So now I think that ICTs definitely enable us to deliver new levels of value in new ways, which is a new phenomenon, a cultural phenomenon. A lot of people ask us, is this about efficiency? In a lot of ways, it isn't about efficiency. It's really about rebuilding trust with the public. A lot of the challenges that we face as a society increasingly are problems of engagement, where people aren't spending enough time getting to know each other, and we see this as the gateway drug for civic engagement, right? This is an easy way that people can use to start caring about and really considering the life of the city. And so we think this has huge potential.
Stockholm is a really interesting city from a sustainability perspective. They have been the green capital of Europe during 2010 and has shown great thought leadership in how to design the city of the future. And there's one project called the Stockholm Royal Seaport, which will use broadband really as one of the key enablers of delivering a fossil-free economy by the year 2030.
The Stockholm Royal Seaport is part of the city's vision of creating a smart urban environment just next to the inner core of Stockholm. It's the next spearhead regarding sustainability. Working with ICT, for example, we can set the demands for developers to actually build smart solutions into every apartment, which then is used by people who live there to be able to live in a smarter way.
The possibilities for an end consumer living in the Royal Seaport is that he or she will be able to produce energy via solar on the rooftop and then feed it back into the grid. The whole point of Smart Grid from the beginning was to ensure that we can use renewables in the system. And renewables today is something that you produce, but you have to consume it right away. But it might be the consumer produces when it doesn't have a need to consume. And then you need to move the load from one place to another, to an industry close by or to another household that needs to consume. So that's the interaction in this system that we need to solve as a utility and to move the loads between different stakeholders. The consumer living in the Royal Seaport will be more aware of how the energy system works. Inside the apartment, you will have special type of dishwashers and fridges with communication devices so that you can steer and control those units. And we will provide the user with price signals and CO2 signals so that you can make clever choices, whether you should wash now, whether you should put on the tumble dryer, if it's very expensive in the system this hour, or if it's low cost in the system right now. And the level of automation is what we want to understand what's needed in the future home.
The city's role is to make it as easy as possible for people who move to the area to live in a smart and sustainable way. We're trying to get people to recycle more or to extrude more biogas from the organic waste. Being given the economy to actually improve the standards of sustainability within this project can give more effects exporting this knowledge to other countries and other developments all around the world.
There's an enormous realization of the importance of cities. And that is true for business, it's true for government, it's true for civil society.
I think cities are, have a vibe, they have a pulse, they're the heart of a lot of energy, a lot of interaction, a lot of culture. Everything, comes together in a city. And I think there's an attractiveness of cities that, bring people in because you want to be part of something. Cities can create a nucleus of where an idea, an innovation can start, but also a movement like the sustainability movement.
We have to devote an extraordinary amount of our energy and resources to addressing these problems in the large. That would be the most marvelous of all innovations, because hopefully it would lead to a stable solution so that, we're not threatened in the next 100 years, but we're still around in 5,000 years.
I don't think all of the world's challenges are focused on cities, but I think if you want to make disproportionate change, focusing on cities is a good bet. And ICT gives us an exceptional opportunity to leverage the opportunities to make that lasting change in cities. We cannot create a better world without better cities.